Welcome to part 4 of the tool storage series. In this part, I'll be creating storage for these two orbit sanders, so stay tuned. So instead of creating two separate units to store these sanders, I've decided to create one unit that's going to store both of them. So the first thing that I'm going to be making is the base. So I took the measurements and then I moved on to cutting it from a piece of plywood. I set the measurement on the table saw and then I made the cut. I did a quick test fit just to get an accurate measurement, then I drew a line and then I made a cut on the miter saw. I drew an outline of the sanders just to figure out where to put the fence so that I could hold the sanders into place once they're mounted. I need to create something that would stop the sander from spinning. So I'm just going to use this piece of wood to hold it into place. So I copied the measurement from the base plate and I made the cut on the miter saw. These two pieces of wood, I cut them at a slight angle just to make them fit flush together. And now it's time to cut the base plate. So the idea is to cut and follow the guidelines that I drew earlier. So the first cut is at an angle and I wanted to make this cut as straight as possible. So I decided to use a miter saw to make this cut. So I clamped the piece to the workbench and I'm going to use the jigsaw to finish the remaining cuts. Once I was done making the cuts with the jigsaw, I used the Orbit Sander to smooth the base plate and remove the pencil marks, and then I used the file to fix some of the imperfection on the semicircle. Alright, so initially I was going to use 2 pieces of wood to work as a fence to hold the sanders into place. I was going to put one at the front and one at the side on the right. So after doing a couple test fits, I realized I don't need 2, I could get away with just using 1. So I'm just going to use the one at the front, and this one at the front is just going to stop the sander from spinning. So I'm just going to focus on this one fence piece at the front, and I'm going to forget about the one on the side. So I applied some glue and I clamped it to the base plate, and then I secured it with nails. So I wiped away the excess glue with a paper towel, and this is what it looks like so far. So now it's time to make the mounting brackets. So I took some rough measurements and I cut another piece of plywood on the table saw. I cut the plywood at a 45-degree angle on the miter saw, and then I made a duplicate. I copied the measurement from the base plate onto the mounting bracket, and then I cut both of them at the same time on the miter saw. I applied some glue onto the mounting bracket, and then I installed the nails. So now it's time to make the final piece, which is the back plate. So I ripped another piece of plywood on the table saw. I marked the measurement, and then I made the cut on the miter saw. I applied some glue I hold it into place with some clamps and then I secured it with nails. I pre-drill 4 holes that I'll be using to mount the storage unit onto the wall. I'm going to be installing these 2 hooks to hold the wires, but just before I install the hooks, I'm going to sand the area to remove the imperfection and the pencil marks. And this is what it looks like right before I mount it to the wall. So this is what it looks like when it's mounted to the wall. Alright, so that's it for this one. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and please consider subscribing. Stay tuned for part 5 and thanks for watching.